Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Always Compete Seahawks podcast. I am Mike, and here today, we're going to talk about a particular guy in Seattle that causes a lot of controversy. You know, a lot of people for a while now have been screaming for his head on a silver plate. They've been wanting him to be fired. And so we're going to kind of talk about him. The guy I'm, of course, referring to is Norton Jr., defensive coordinator for the Seahawks. And I don't know if you guys remember last year, there was a whole movement, fire Ken Norton. It's because through, 8 or 9 weeks, our defense last year was literally the worst in NFL history. I believe we broke the record for being the worst in NFL history through 8 weeks. And of course, we had a better second half of the year, so it kind of bought him some time. He wasn't fighting in the offseason. He is still our defensive coordinator this year. But I kind of want to talk about Ken Norton Jr. and I've kind of a hot take about Ken Norton Jr. At talking about if he should be fired or not. So kind of before I get into it, make sure to subscribe, make sure to like the video if you've been enjoying, and turn on those post notifications so you don't miss anything. So Ken Norton Jr., it's kind of important to figure out where he got his start from. So played at UCLA back in the day, went to the NFL, played with the Cowboys, 49ers. The only player in NFL history, I believe, to win 3 straight Super Bowls, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. Then, he got his start and did a little broadcasting, did a little analyzing, whatever. Then he started his coaching career. He started his coaching career in the mid-2000s. He went to USC, he was a grad assistant, coached under Pete Carroll, became the linebackers coach there. And obviously, USC was very, very successful in the mid-2000s. They had a lot of success. They had a lot of great players. They won a lot of games. They went to the national championship pretty much every single year. So, it was a very good way to get kind of your in the coaching world. He became really good friends with Pete Carroll at that time. And then when Pete Carroll left for Seattle, Ken Norton left with him. And then from 2010 to 2014, Ken Norton Jr. was the Seahawks linebackers coach. Obviously, did very good. Defense was very good back then. Linebackers especially were awesome. And then he was hired as the Raiders defensive coordinator, was the Raiders defensive coordinator for 3 years. Then in 2018 was hired back to Seattle as the defensive coordinator, and he has been our defensive coordinator ever since. So how has he done as a defensive coordinator? Not very good. During his time as defensive coordinator in Seattle, they are 17th in takeaways, which is below average. They are 25th in opposing passing yards allowed, which is bad. That's bottom of the barrel. So that brings me to kind of my hot take of the day. I think Ken Norton should be demoted and not fired. I think he should be I think he should be the linebackers coach. Here's why I say that. If you look at everywhere he's went throughout his coaching career, the linebackers have been fantastic, right? USC, they had All-Americans. Matt Grodengod, sorry, I don't know how to say that. Matt Grodengod, Lofa Tapu, Keith Rivers, Ray Mataluga, Brian Cushing. They had a bunch of All-American linebackers. In Seattle, Bobby Wagner, perhaps the greatest linebacker of his generation. KJ Wright, stud linebacker. Jordan Brooks is coming into his own. And if you really want to be technical, in Oakland, he coached Khalil Mack. 2016, he coached Khalil Mack, who won Defensive Player of the Year that year. So the linebackers under Ken Norton Jr. have always been great, right? Seattle's defense, in his tenure as defensive coordinator, they've been a lot better against the run. On average, they're the 12th best rushing defense in the NFL. That's a massive improvement from being the 17th best or 25th best passing defense in the NFL. So I think personally that Ken Norton Jr. should be demoted to the linebackers coach. Then now, obviously, that begs the question, oh shit, what do we do at defensive coordinator? And honestly, I think that's a very good question. And I'll try to answer that really quickly right here. So I think in season, if we were to do this in season, we would have to promote somebody from that was already on our staff, because it'd be really hard to bring in a new defensive coordinator mid-season. But in the off season, I mean, there are a couple guys that you could throw out there. I mean, defensive coordinator is really hard, honestly. It's a premium spot. So I would really prioritize bringing in a big name guy, to really solidify that defensive group. But that's my hot take. I don't think Ken Norton Jr. is a good defensive coordinator at all. But I do think he's a good linebackers coach. I think he's a very good linebackers coach, in fact. And I think that's what he should do, that he should be our linebackers coach. help train up Jordan Brooks and, Cody Barton, continue to develop Bobby Wagner. Not that he needs to be developed that much anymore, but I think Norton Jr. should be the linebackers coach. And if he doesn't want to be the linebackers coach, I think he should be fired because he is not a very good defensive coordinator, in my opinion. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think down below. Goodbye.